Phyllis fam? Welcome to another episode where we shed light on topics most like to keep in the dark. This is your host, Chubby, and today's elephant is a level 2 elephant. This past year, I was grieving and mourning a lot. And I guess we could say that for the rest of the world as well. Then there was this feeling that I couldn't pinpoint what it was. And after talking to my friends and explaining the situation that happened and explaining the feelings that I didn't know had a name or what the name was, we came to a conclusion that it was resentment. But before we get into that conversation, how is everyone doing? I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you're healthy, safe, and getting ready for winter because winter is here. I know it's been snowing a lot. And if you are in sunny places, well, I guess it's very hot. Climate change exists, but anyway. So yeah, at this point, I was not ready to talk about this subject. I was doing all of the healing. It felt strange and I didn't like it. And I was sitting in this uncomfortable feeling that I needed to heal from. I just didn't know that it was this bad. So, what is resentment? There's no one case of resentment, but most cases involve an underlying sense of being mistreated or wronged by another person. Experiencing frustration and disappointment. When the feeling becomes too overwhelming, they can contribute to resentment. So I guess that's where I was at the point of me realizing what I was feeling and the situation, what the situation was, who was the person. I started realizing that every time I saw the person pop up on my social media, I didn't want to see their face and I simply didn't want them to see what I was up to. Even though we ended up in okay terms, I still consider them a friend. It was just bothering me. Everything that they were doing was bothering me. It was annoying me, and I didn't realize what I was feeling, honestly. But honestly, I'm not sure if I ever felt this feeling, and if I had, I clearly didn't sit with it. But here's some signs of resentment. And please know, not everyone feels the same way. All situations are different. But here's some key elements. So, continual or recurring feelings of a strong emotion such as anger when thinking about the specific interaction or experience or the person, etc. Inability to stop thinking about the event that triggered these strong emotions. Feelings of regret, feelings of avoidance of conflict. Your mood is generally negative towards them or about them or anything dealing with them. So these are some signs, right? But after reflecting on these emotions, I just know that I needed to get over this feeling. And I was feeling stuck as to why. So I decided on finding ways to heal. But before I get into that, unfortunately, it happens between friends, it happens between families, it happens with anybody. It will happen. But what can make it a smooth transition is to talk about it, to let them know you're feeling this way. Obviously, after realizing what the situation is or what happened, or, that feeling that made you realize. Yeah, it just takes time to talk about it. But once you do and you let the other person know, if you choose to, because you don't have to, as long as you're doing your own healing on your own end and realizing that what they did is not necessarily a reflection of you because they had their own things going on. All you did was try your best. So that's another thing that you have to realize, that anyone else's actions is not a reflection of you, because you can't control everyone. You can't control anyone. And once we start realizing that, we could only be accountable for our own actions, right? So So getting through resentment may seem difficult, but there are ways to move through these feelings and move forward from them. And here's a list of ways to heal from your resentment. I mean, I do hope this helps you. Obviously, not every single way is for everyone. There are many ways that you can heal from resentment and move forward and understand what happened. So, all the information is by psychologytoday.com. Healthy ways to address anger and resentment. And by the way, this is in all types of relationships, not friendships, not only marriage, just all. There are specific actions you can take to address the feelings of anger and resentment in a more healthy and helpful way. Practice identifying and allowing yourself to feel the underlying emotions that anger may be superimposed upon, such as a hurt or fear. Try to be present with and accept the feelings and the vulnerability they elicit. Practice being consciously present with your anger and resentment. Observe it, allow it to simply be, hold it, visualize putting space around it, notice what happens. Identify how you have contributed to the situation that you are angry or resentful about. Be aware that the person, including you, frequently play a part in the circumstances about which they are angry and or resentful. Practice expressing anger and resentment differently. Share the feelings with safe, supportive individuals whom you trust. Journal or write about them. Discharge them through physical activity by working out, taking a walk or run, or playing a sport. If appropriate to the situation, participate in activities that promote social and economic justice and other forms of nonviolent activism. Learn and practice relaxation and self calming techniques. Examples include intentional breathing, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, progressive relaxation, and quiet and unplugged downtime. As difficult as it may be, endeavor to practice treating those people you feel angry at or have resentment towards with kindness and compassion. Notice that Notice what happens when you change and how you act towards them. They will often change in how they act towards you. Resist the urge to be a channel for the anger and resentment of others. The anger and resentment of others can be seductive, they can have an almost magnetic pull. Don't buy into it. Resist the urge to join in their negativity or participate in gossip. And the last one, practice applying the understanding that unless you've learned how to change the past, it is as good as it ever going to get. Find ways to remind yourself of this whenever you need to. You don't have to like what's happening in the present or has happened in the past in order to accept it. And acceptance will free your attention and energy from the shackles of anger and resentment, enabling you to be more skillful in the present. I know some of these may not work for you, but I do suggest finding some that will. Maybe talking to someone is not what you need or want. Maybe you can write it down and read it to yourself out loud and see how that makes you feel. Maybe listening to others talk about their resentment may make you feel like you can let go of yours. I can go on without the maybes, but you need to find what works for you and feels right. Find that way you can release your resentment. What I can tell you is that after a long time of asking questions, why am I resentful? What did they do that made me feel this way? Why did I react the way that I did after what happened? All these questions, etc. I realized that I value the friendship too much and was hurt at the fact that they behaved in a way that made it seem like they didn't care about the friendship, therefore creating this rift between us that the other person didn't know about. And then I had a conversation with them and I listened to what they were saying and their apologies and rationalize everything afterwards. Am I better? In a way, yes. But I do not see everything like before. Definitely wish everything was handled differently, but it's okay. 1 year later, I can say I forgive them and that they try their best at living their truth and their lives, just like I am doing mine. And that's all we could hope for anyone. And that is what resentment does. It makes you cloudy, and it makes you forget who the person was before you got into this, when you lack of a better word, argument or in altercation, whatever it may be. um and healing from that makes you see the person for who they were and why you are friends to begin with, or why you are in a relationship with them, etc. It makes you realize holding on to that anger is literally just making it worse for you, because they're probably just minding their own business and going on with their lives, but you're holding on to this and it's not doing anybody any good. So after so long, I am finally able to not have that feeling in my heart or in my gut. And I talked about it. I am letting it go. I let it go. Obviously, this is the aftermath of all of that. Trying to talk about it, but not finding the words to was the hardest part, honestly. And not being able to tell this person, I feel like you could have done better, and I know you tried, but you could have just said otherwise. Whatever the situation was, of course. And here I am talking about it, trying to help others, I guess. I mean, resentment is a thing that they don't talk about in schools. Resentment is a thing that they don't even tell you how it feels. And when once you start describing the feeling, and talking to someone who can help, then you start understanding, oh, okay, now I get it. I want to share some quotes with you, with everyone, and I hope you find them enlightening. And resentment is nasty. What makes it so ugly is that it has a tendency to turn you, an otherwise kind and reasonable person, into someone who is so angry at their own life situation that is nearly impossible to recover. Bitterness and resentment make it hard even for the people who you love to be around you. Martha Bodyfelt. Anger, resentment, and jealousy don't change the heart of others, it only changes yours. Shannon Alder. Anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person and to the right degree at the right time and for the right purpose and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power, and it is not easy. Aristotle. Just like there's always time for pain, there's always time for healing. Jennifer Brown. Fearless fam, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I hope it made you reflect on your own feelings, maybe some resentment you've been lingering around and you don't even know. And I hope you are able to heal and you are able to communicate these feelings to the person that you are feeling this resentment. Maybe it's towards yourself, a family member, a friend, a romantic relationship, whatever it may be. I can't sit here today and say I am okay. Things happen the way they did to teach me patience and to remember that everyone behaves and acts differently from me, and I cannot expect them to act and behave like me. There is literally only one of me. Cannot all work at the same frequency. And honestly, I learned a lot this year. But patience is the biggest lesson, because I have let go of other feelings before. But patience is the one thing that I am still struggling with. And I sit here today recording this episode and realizing that, people do come and go out of your life if they choose to stay and communicate and actually have that open communication. It takes two to tango, right? If you reach out to them and they don't reach back out to you, that's on them, right? And you can't hold yourself responsible for their actions. So I hope you all learned something from this episode, Fearless Fam. I want to say thank you so much for listening, and looking forward to episode 21. Can't wait to share with you all. It's going to be a very sad one. I'm just going to let you all know now. Episode 21, level 5. And anyway, thank you for listening. Share your experiences with me. Share a time where you felt this resentment and you did not know how to let it go, or you didn't talk to anybody about it. And share with me. Leave it in the comments below. And remember to follow us on Instagram at nofiltersnofears.com. And remember to listen to us wherever you are, your other listening platforms. And thank you so much for your time. And like I always say, stay fearless, everyone.